indeed time to check in with Russo Radio from the historic Kevin Fallness studio, where allegedly all technical issues that had you sounding like you were speaking into a speakerphone last time have indeed been resolved. Is that accurate, Russo Radio?
Yeah, because Guardsy's back on the clock. It's nice to have him back, somebody competent.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm just messing around. I apologize.
You had me. I thought
that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. You missed the punchline, too.
Oh, go ahead. Let's start over.
Okay.
Rewind.
I said it was because Guardsy's back on the clock. It's just nice to have somebody.
Sure, we got an adult and a professional here.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you're
it was
throwing
just-
more under the bus.
Yeah,
That's
like
not very nice.
Apparently, Fallness was the least responsible of the issues
Of course
last
he
time.
was. Yeah, of course he was.
Halvey was
Yeah.
like fast asleep. Brett apparently didn't feel like it was necessary to tell Fallness that there was an issue.
Yeah.
So Fallness was just kind of clueless in there, which is his normal standard. But
It's default.
but this time I don't blame him as much.
What's the scent in the candle?
Cereal milk soft serve. It's definitely. I will say it's the best scent that he's had ever.
I don't
in there.
want my candle to smell like something I want to eat.
I don't know.
Does it have to be that exotic?
It is. It is. It does smell like ice cream, and I will say, I don't know if you've been to that. There's a like an ice cream shop on. I think it's Grand. That's like
Is that in St. Paul?
Yeah, and so you definitely haven't been there.
Yeah, I would have no.
But it smells like when you walk in there, so it's pretty good. Yeah, no, it's good. It's definitely of all the Fallness candles, this is by far the best. So good. I'm gonna look it up on Amazon and maybe get a couple.
Well, you could make the argument that right now what Fallness should have is candles that smell really bad, because if he wants to really reflect the odor emanating from your favorite hockey team. Let's be honest. That's what it is. We're not sailing along, are we?
No. They've won 3 out of 11 games, so they're certainly not that. And they're playing a team tonight that's got a point streak in 9 straight games. By the way, if you start to lose me, Halvey's just walked into the studio, so there's a good chance that something's going to get unplugged. But no, they're not playing well. And I remember talking to you before opening night when we were in St. Louis, and you asked me about the season. I just said I was concerned just because an audible happened right going into training camp where Zuccarello reported hurt, and that obviously was a situation where I think coming into camp we all knew that this team really lacked depth in the top 6 and couldn't really afford losing that right off the hop if Liam Ogren and Danilo Urov didn't show that they were ready right away. And I think they're going to be good players, but they didn't show that they're ready to grasp that right away. And then Nico Sturm gets hurt as well, who was the person that was supposed to come here and cure all their face-off troubles and penalty kill troubles, and he gets hurt the first day of camp. And so it hasn't been a good start to the season. I think guys are starting to really try to do too much on the ice. They've come close the last couple games to getting themselves out of it and getting a win, and obviously lost both games in overtime. But at this point, it's not about the process anymore. They're at a tipping point. They got to get some W's.
Yeah, it is sadly at that point. And I would, far be it from me to be presumptuous enough to tell you how to do your job, because nobody does it better than you do. But I'm hoping that you and Joe and whoever is covering this team on a given night, even if they hear a player, a wild player, say, we really think we deserve to win or got the better of it, that you guys will dutifully, take the note as if you're writing it down and nod your head, but not include it in the story.
Yeah.
Because, Russo, in all honesty, does it not reach a point where it's utterly meaningless, and I don't know why any fan would sit there and say, oh, okay, I feel a lot better now. That explains it. There's just not enough equity on this club to me to go down that road, even if on a given night there might be some truth to it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, almost beating the San Jose Sharks is not something to lay your hat on. And if you were the San Jose Sharks, there's time for moral victories. But right now, this team, this is not the way this season was supposed to start. Fans and this organization have been waiting for years for the buyout trouble to go away, and they come into this year and they win for 3 of their first 11 games. And what to me is more concerning is how they get out of this, because save for the Winnipeg game, which I think is a team that still probably lacks speed. The three games before that, Utah and San Jose and New Jersey really skated circles around them at times in those games and look like they are the younger, fresher legs. And the reality is that the Wild have married themselves to this core, and yeah, they have some young kids coming, but none of them are really high end guys. So these players on the ice, when Bill Guerin says it's fixable, it has to be fixable through the team that he has constructed here. And right now, it looks like a lot of these teams are on the verge of sort of passing them by. And that's, look, there's a lot of reasons for that. The teams that have sort of had a huge young core, especially the ones like in Utah, these teams have been terrible for a long, long time and have gotten top 5 picks routinely, where the Wild never seem to get that. And, right now, as good as the Wild really believe their prospect pool is, if you look at anybody in their system, nobody is like a Macklin Celebrini or a Logan Cooley or a Dylan Gunther or J.J. Peterka. They don't have that coming. And that's concerning because a lot of these teams that have been terrible for a long time, we've seen Chicago get off to a great start. We've seen what Macklin Celebrini could do. We're going to see eventually what the byproduct of Anaheim. Detroit's gotten off to a really good start, even though it's a different conference. There's just a lot of teams here that have been able to, because they've been terrible, get these high picks. And I think it's, eventually that bill comes due. And I think the Wild's core have gotten, as they've just routinely gotten older, are starting to look that way on the ice.
What was the message that you took out of Guerin meeting with the captains? What was that all about?
I think it's kind of the complete opposite of what he did a couple years ago when he fired Dean. The Monday before we all went to Sweden, he went into the locker room and tore the paint off the wall, so to speak, and went one by one and just ripped into everybody. And you just knew at that point that that Dean was really on a short leash, even though Billy was doing everything possible not to fire him. This time, I think he is realizing kind of what I just told you, is that the answers have to be in the room. So I think he's trying to, one, get information, but also, explain to these players just the urgency of the situation to get them out of it and how much they need all 3 of those guys, Kaprizov, Spurgeon, and Foligno, to play better. But also the fact that they are in this together and trying to find out what they could do to make it easier for this team to start winning. And so, obviously those are private conversations, and Bill didn't give me a big rundown of exactly what was said. I know, Spurgeon and Foligno, we've talked to them, and I've gotten sort of a gist of it. But I think it comes down to, again, what I've been saying is that I think that Bill came into this season thinking that they were going to be a really good team and that eventually he would accrue cap space and really go for that big fish in some sort of capacity in a trade. And I don't think he ever envisioned that he might have to make some trades to save the season. The reality, though, is I think that what that tells me is that Bill has done a lot of due diligence in the last couple of weeks to try to figure out what the landscape is out there. And not only is it hard to make a trade, there hasn't been a significant trade in the NHL in months. But I think he realizes that right now there's really no great players available. He's not going to trade for Nazem Kadri and take 3 years of a 35-year-old at $7 million. Nick Robertson might be available in Toronto, but this is a 24-year-old undersized winger that really is that the type of thing that's going to make an impact enough to save your season. Could he trade right now for probably 15 bottom? A fourth line,
what's that do?
What's that do? So I think he's realizing that there's, at this juncture, really nothing out there that is going to make the impact that this team needs. And when it comes down to it, especially when you look at that Winnipeg that game the other night, they need a save from Gustafsson. They're not getting it.
That's right.
Analytically, in 7 of the last 8 games, they've had the second best goalie on the ice between Gustafsson and Wallstedt and whoever they're playing against. That's not a good thing. The other night against Winnipeg, it was a 3-goal swing between the saved above expected for a guy like Hellebuck and Gustafsson. So he's got to be better. The San Jose game, Wallstedt's got to be better. Then your superstar. I mean, look, there's a lot of issues on this team right now, and I know that Wild fans seem to be sensitive to anybody criticizing Kirill, according to whenever we do it and the comments that we get back. But I'm sorry, like, he's turning the puck over 10 times a game. And look, don't ever look at the giveaways on the stat sheet. I know that they have him like top 5 in the league with 19 giveaways. He's had 19 giveaways this week. it is not a stat that is recorded accurately in the National Hockey League. You know, games ago in San Jose, he turned the puck over twice for goals and once leading to a penalty that led to a goal. Last game in overtime, a blind pass in the neutral zone turned the game upside down. Power plays almost every single night are ended because he's turning the puck over on an east to west play in the high slot that is clearly starting to be anticipated by penalty kills because they're picking him off constantly in games. And he just is a player. I mean, like a lot of Russian players that likes to play an east-west brand of hockey, but it's starting to become problematic when you can't stop a puck. And right now, the Wild are one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They've trailed more than every team in the league but one. And so, you know, when you're not good defensively or you're struggling to that point, you've got to play a simple game and try to eke out some victories and be careful with the puck, and he's not doing it right now. So, again, I don't mean to just pick on him. There's a lot of problems on this team. Foligno hasn't been good. Spurgeon hasn't been great. You know, there's a lot of passengers right now. Yakov Trenyan, I'm not positive exactly what he's doing out there. There's a lot of issues. But they, you know, Kirill, like it or not, when you are now the highest paid player in the NHL for a long, long time and by a wide margin, the standard is higher for you. And he's got to be better than he's been. You know, he's got to be better at even strength offensively, and he's certainly got to be better defensively and taking care of the puck.
Yeah, I was chuckling listening to you talking about, especially about doing the little things defensively and so forth when you don't have much margin for error. And I admit this is silly sentimentality. But I got triggered when Lemaire, part of the 25th anniversary stuff, when he came back, I got triggered. I'm not lying to you. I'm going, you know, he's got that unmistakable grin, that look that he has on his face. He's aged a little, but he still looks pretty much the same. Still, to me, sounds the same. And I'm going, I told Louie, I said, no offense on Hines. This isn't even about Hines at all. But if you could hire an 80-year-old coach and he'd be willing to do it, I'd do it in a minute, because I do hearken back to that time, because you did at least feel like then they may not have been interesting to watch, but that they knew their limitations and he had a standard, and by God, they were going to have to abide by it. I miss Lemaire.
Yeah, you know, I look, I mean, first of all, he doesn't want to do it, so it's
right.
that's not happening.
No.
But you're right. I mean, that opening night, he must have had a heart attack watching that in the you know, I mean, just the way the Wild were.
Yes.
Look, you know, I think Fallness had Marian Gaborik on the pod the other day, and Gaborik said it's the best. And remember, they had their battles. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people that felt that you know, Lemaire is the reason why Gaborik maybe didn't hit that 50-goal mark routinely, or 40 more than the one time he did in this organization. That he was, you know, had the handcuffs on him, and yet when Fallness asked him about Lemaire, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Fallness, if I'm misquoting him, but he said he's the best coach he's ever had. And this is a guy that won a cup in L.A. and has had a lot of good coaches in the National Hockey League. So I think that says a lot. And it's the age-old, you know, how many times do you talk to a professional athlete years and years and years after their career ends, and they realize, you know what, that guy that really rode me hard was actually the best thing that ever happened to me and helped me learn about life and the game. And that's what Jacques did. And you're right. I mean, no, they've had a lot of great teams here since Jacques as well, and Mike Yeo is the only coach in Wild history that got them past the first round twice, and they were a really good defensive team under Mike. And but I think what's perplexing about the last 3 years with the Wild is that this organization has always been a really good home team and a really good penalty-killing team, and the Wild have been a really awful home team the last 3 years, and their penalty kill is beyond god-awful. And the thing that concerned me the last game here that we're seeing now is empty seats. You know, this has not been a fun place to watch the Wild play for too long here. You know, they were one of the best road teams in the league last year, but a really mediocre home team until the end of the season. And fans here are starting to get tired of coming out here and not having fun and not seeing victories. And last game, the amount of empty seats in the upper bowl was very, very concerning. And so... and that was a game where, you know, Gaborik and Bouchard and Ralston and Veilleux came back, and, you know, and that wasn't enough to sell the place out. So this team, to start off a 6-game homestand after such a bad road trip with no victories so far in 3 games is very, very concerning.
What else do we need to know about the Pens, tonight's opponent?
Well, they're playing well, and Sidney Crosby always turns back the clock. It's not like this is a resurgence of him. He's had an unbelievable start to the year, 16 points, 15 points in 11 games. Malkin is the one that's absolutely turned back the clock. This is somebody that the last 2 or 3 years really looked like he's slowing down. Well, he leads the league in assists and has 16 points in 11 games. How about this one for you? Matt Dumba's in the lineup. Connor Dure's in the lineup. But the one guy that has had a great start for the Pittsburgh Penguins is Justin Brazeau, the Wild's trade deadline pickup last year that really wasn't very good here. And, why was he not very good here? Well, he's not a checker. He's a scorer. He's always been a scorer. He was a scorer in juniors. He was a scorer at times in Boston. Well, the Wild acquired him to put on the fourth line, and he just didn't have that type of impact. Well, now he's playing with Malkin, and he has 6 goals and 12 points in 11 games. So Brazeau is just put in a position that he wasn't able to play here because of the Wild's top 6. But it also shows that when you make a trade deadline pickup, you can't just, as I wrote the other day about David Juracek, a leopard doesn't change his spots. Brazeau might be huge, but he's not a checker. He doesn't hit. He scores. And David Juracek, same thing. At 6'4", he's one hit this season. He's not the type of player that's going to add a lot of physicality on a blue line that has no physicality or little physicality. So there's some issues right now in this Wild lineup.
Have fun tonight. Good checking in with you as always. We'll chat next week and say hi to Fallness. Tell them that the sound quality I thought was superb today.
Yeah,
You're
he did a
welcome,
great job. Guardsy did a great job as well.
The adult's back.
Yeah, it's about time. It just shows that you can't take any time off, Guardsy, or travel with
security.
the Gophers.
It's job security. I got to let other people try to do what I do and make it seem so easy, so difficult. I have to come back.
Yeah, they can't do it.
If I sounded like I was in a phone booth, there's no doubt you would have said something. But apparently that was fine with Blakemore.
He was probably watching Jordan Love highlights and wasn't even listening.
That's a good point.
Very possible. Thanks, man. Be good.
All right, see you.
Russo Radio.